you guys ever read the book The Slight Edge?
I've not.
It's so fucking good. It's better than any of those damn Jin basic books. It's so good. It's like so simple, but he just gives all these different examples of the real secret to success. It's literally doing the right things long enough consistently. But he explains how it's like in every single moment. It's like, so I then started tying it in with all the stuff that we talk about with Self-Perfected and Destiny. It's like literally in every single breath, who are you? Are you accumulating yourself as life? Are you participating in the tree of life, or are you participating in the tree of evil? And
Okay.
the secret.
Cue the intro. Cue the intro. Okay.
Look for the Self-Perfected.
Okay. and then the secret is that you're not going to fucking see the change right now, or you might see it a little bit, or you might have a little insight here or a breakthrough here, or you make a different decision here. But the real magic is like a month later or a year later, you look back and you're like, I am a way fucking different person. This is really amazing. But the book just lays it out in such plain English. And like, I mean, if I wasn't using TechnoTutor, I would probably just be like, oh yeah, that's the answer. Okay. And then I'd go on, just keep it fucking off. But
yeah. But also if you weren't pre-programmed to do those things naturally, you're not going to do it anyways.
Right.
So the
right.
TechnoTutor is the part that gets you to actually change in those moments when things come up where you have to be better than you were. So all the preparation that you do. Yeah.
And the thing that I see is, I mean, I even noticed it early on when I was using TT, but now that I'm, well on my way, I notice how whenever I'm reading, I'll be reading like the story. For example, it gives this is an example of like these lily pads, and then they double every day. I don't know if it's actually true, but apparently it's true. And then, so he gives the analogy of like over 30 days, it covers the whole pond. But even at day 25, it looks like it's just a little patch. He's explaining the compound effect. And I'm like, as I'm reading those words, my mind is making these connections about like people in my local network that I have to introduce to each other. So I'm like, shit, close the book, send some text, close the book, set up a meeting. And then I'm like, okay, so it's like that I've never had. I've never had that. And I used to read a fuckload of books, but that is TechnoTutor right there. Like that's one way I see it.
Well, and if you study Marilyn Adams, right? She has a book called Beginning to Read, as you guys know. She explains that's what reading is. Like that's one of the people might think that's a dance, and it's like that's actually like that's how I read. When I read stuff, it's like I can be reading something and also thinking about something else and thinking about planning something and not miss what I read.
Yeah.
And also think about how that connects to something, right? But that's because the vocabulary is physically integrated. If you don't have that, you're not going to be able to do that.
That's one of the first things that I noticed when I started using TechnoTutor. Like one of the first things I noticed was when I went to pick up a book and I started reading it, I was like, holy fuck, I can read. Like, which was just so shocking to me because like I knew that I read faster than most people already, like I knew that I could comprehend a lot better than most people. And so I just thought like I could already read, but when I started having that effect, like what you were just saying, Mitch, of this, I can see how this works in my actual real physical life. I need to go implement this right now. And then I just start talking to people like, do you understand what this means? And they're like, I see you're excited about it, I guess. I'm like, no, you don't get it. Like it's fucking, this is legit. But like,
hell yeah. Well, that's what's so cool is because it's like it's automated within you. It's like automated that you just start to find solutions. But it wouldn't be enough to just have that, because if you're finding solutions that are fucked, then you're just continuing to perpetuate the world's problems. So then that's why it's so important. I mean, it's essential. It's necessary to then have the principles. Because then when you have the principles physically integrated, then you start reading different books. It's like it all fits together, and then you're literally a supercomputer. So you take all this input, you process it, and then you give the best output. And then you just do that enough, and then guess what? Your money increases, your life gets better, you have a great partnership, you create a family. Like, it's everything that anyone would really want.
Yeah.
That's actually how you do it. It's not
Oh.
from just like wishing or vibrating or some shit like that.
Oh, okay. That just like, that's perfect. You have to have the right starting point first. This is why our starting point is we hammer on this so much, but why it's also so important, because if you have the wrong starting point, all the other shit that you're doing means fuck all, because like, I was just listening to this podcast. I sent it to you, Cam, and it was about mass hypnosis, right? And they had this psychologist on who was also a statistician. Like, he went to school for statistics, like to learn statistics. And
Did he work for the
psychology.
CDC?
He did not. He's like,
I don't even think
foreign.
they have any statisticians at the CDC. But
Yeah, just mass hypnosis.
it's literally just people, they read the book How to Lie with Statistics. That's like they're like, hey, you read that book? Yeah. Okay, come on in.
You're good. Do your thing over here. So this guy basically, he was looking at the stats that were coming out from the original model. Does anybody even remember that original model that they said like 20 million people or whatever are going to die, globally if, we don't lock down and everything, right? And then 2,000 people died, and everyone was like, wow, that was a lot of people, and we saved everybody from locking down. Like, the models were off. You know that. They were way fucking off. But he was looking at those numbers, and he was looking specifically at Sweden. And he said, the model said that if they didn't lock down in Sweden, there would be 80,000 dead by May of 2020. And he said by May of 2020, there were 6,000 people that had died in total. And he's like, so clearly they were off by a factor of 13, right? Which is huge. You're way fucking off, right? So if you realize that, then what should naturally happen is, oh, the models were wrong. Let's course correct. Everything that we've been doing, it was based off of that. Let's change what we're doing now, right? But he said that didn't happen. And that's when he started thinking something's up. Like, we're not actually paying attention to the science, to the numbers, to all those things that these politicians and leaders are claiming that they are, right? Something else is going on here. And there's a lot more to it than that. But what I found really fascinating in relation to the starting point was he brought up this really great point. How much money do they say it costs to end world hunger? Not just solve it for this country or that country, but end world hunger, create sustainable systems, that kind of thing.
What do they say? What is it?
300 billion. That's it, $300 billion. And I know that sounds like a monumental amount of money, but how much money did we in the US alone spend on just stimulus checks?
On app subscriptions.
Yeah. Like on just like anything that happened in the last year, we spent
Entertainment,
trillions.
bro.
Dude, they just printing trillions of dollars out of fucking nowhere.
Okay.
Exactly.
And we
But
could
it's
have,
not important that we just make sure everyone has basic needs.
Because
Right.
people can't fucking read.
Because
right?
that
You
would be
can't read the
communism.
situation.
So that would be communism. So instead, what we need to do is lock everybody down, give them curfews, vaccine passports. I mean, make them get multiple 5, 6, 7, whatever vaccines.
give money to the
Um,
corporations, only.
Let the IRS watch your bank accounts, like all that stuff, because we don't want to just give money to people and have them their basic needs, because that would be communism.
Right, exactly. And so it's just basic economics, right? And I think a lot of people, when they think of economics, they think of just money, right? But economics is allocation of resources. And if you can't see in your brain, that was the other thing.
Oh, Drake,
Yeah, I see that look on his. I don't care.
it's happening.
I don't care.
You're doing the double up.
No. Okay, all right, Kai, come back. I'm good.
Bye. Give me host.
No.
It's always when Drake gets into it.
Yeah. This is like Drake's like deep-seated childhood self-sabotage pattern. It just comes out as like,
Okay. How about now? Is this better? Better?
Yeah,
Keep
I
talking.
think so.
Okay, cool. It's just the mic for this fucking thing here. I got it though.
Okay, nice. Dude,
Okay.
look at that.
Sweet.
Correction in the moment, self-corrective application.
Okay. Back to what I was saying. Economics, just allocation of resources, right? And so what that means is they brought up this other point. There's never been at the same time where they say, this is what we need to do, like lockdown and all this, because these are the consequences if we don't lock down. There's never been at the same time, what are the consequences of locking down as far as how is that going to affect people? Like what's the death going to be from suicides? What's people being anxious, lonely, people losing their incomes, all that stuff. What are the actual consequences of that going to be? How is that going to impact people in the second and third consequence? And like, okay, so if we were to actually compare those things, then you could make an actual informed decision of, hey, this makes more sense based on what's going to happen for real. We can practically see it. And so we're not even doing that, right? Why? Because the starting point is myopically focused on survival. Just this problem, just like, and that is, like you were saying, that is what we've been doing. That's our slight edge in survival, right? Where we're practicing this in every fucking moment. How can I survive? As opposed to, how can we actually provide for all and live a really great life, right? And so it's just within every moment, our starting point is what's informing what we're doing all the time. And that's creating all these extra problems where we have this fucking solution right here. And we turn around and we go, no, let's send all our resources over there.
Okay, but look at this guy you were talking to. You're telling me before the podcast, you're talking to somebody, young guy, just joined Self Perfected recently, and he was telling you like he's spending like $500 a month on just app subscriptions to shit that he doesn't even use, right?
Yep.
So everybody's focused on just fucking entertaining themselves with useless shit. So I'm going to break it down for everybody, right? Because you're saying this point about, and I know you're not saying this, but I notice a lot of people like in the podcast, YouTube world or whatever, they kind of like, well, if they would just do the comparative studies, they would see that the lockdowns don't work. And then this does work. And I'm like, they don't, that's not what's going on here.
Right.
They're not locking down because they think that there's a virus that's going to kill everybody and they're trying to help everybody.
Right.
They're using the fact that there's a new virus because there's new viruses all the fucking time, and that they have total absolute control of the digital virtual information space, and all opposition is able to be silenced. They perfected that with Donald Trump's not re-election. So now they can control the narrative completely. They have all the fact checkers in place. They put everything in place so that way they can control the narrative, just like straight up 1984. So the whole point about all this stuff that's going on is just gradual. It's kind of like two things. One, how much will people take where this doesn't make sense? We just did that, but now we're doing this, and then not questioning it. So you're like, okay, I can control this person because I'm telling them to do stuff that makes no fucking sense. And then I'm asking questions. Good. And then I'm finding all the people who are asking questions and kind of like what's the word? Kind of putting them to the side and in their own little bubble. And then everybody else will just have them, they watch CNN. Okay, so we can continue to lie to them. But as we've been talking about, and lots of people are talking about this now, the whole point is to implement social credit. The whole point is to lock now think about this. And suddenly here comes metaverse. So you've got everything moving towards social credit, where everything you say is monitored, everything you do is monitored. If you do the right actions or the wrong actions, you're rewarded or punished accordingly. And now you have the metaverse where everybody's going to be in a digital world. So all information is controlled. And what does everybody just want? Clearly, they just want to fucking entertain themselves.
Yeah, just try and feel good, forget about
so
the life.
What all the people who want to make money are gonna do is just be like, okay, let's just give them entertainment. And anything that interferes with that, we can manage the flow of information so that people can't really question it. I watched this video the other day or yesterday of it was Russell Brand, and he was talking about V for Vendetta.
Yeah.
and he was just kind of, Russell Brand's interesting because he doesn't always make hard conclusions. He kind of like brings up points and then kind of like leaves it like that.
Yeah.
So he was just saying like, hey, look, there's some interesting coincidences here. Is this like predicting the future, or did it predict the future? It was set in 2020, which is so weird.
It is.
But he was making this point. There was a guy, I meant to make a note of it. Mark Fisher, I think was the guy's name. I think he said Mark Fisher, and I was going to look him up later. He said, because I don't know who that is, but he said he wrote a lot because he was bringing up like Foucault and other Baudrillard and like other, not Baudrillard, Foucault. Who's the other big one? I can't remember right now. Post-structuralists, postmodern philosophers who talked about the role of like power and authority and all that stuff in our world. And anyways, he brought this guy, Mark Fisher. I think that was the name. He said he wrote a lot about the idea of how the system is so robust that it can literally produce content that openly exposes the corruption, the game plan, the control, the fucked upness of the system. And we will all literally just consume it as entertainment. Like I remember watching The Matrix, like reading 1984 when I was a kid, being like, man, it'd be weird if the world was like this. Wow. And like thinking of it as like an entertaining idea. And like, that's how people consume in 1984. They consume Brave New World. They consume V for Vendetta, The Matrix. What else? I mean, you name it. And it's like, dude, it's all fucking telling you right in your face. And it's like, wow, that was a cool movie. And then you even talk to somebody and you're like, hey, you watched The Matrix? They're like, yeah. You're like, yeah. So the world we live in is like The Matrix. Like it's a digital virtual world. It's like media. It's not real. It's your mind. You explain all that. That's what The Matrix actually is. And they're like, wait. They lived in a computer simulation? And you're like, did you watch the fucking movie? They're like, oh, yeah, interesting. And I'm like, how did you not remember that? Like maybe they realized it when they were watching it, but they didn't even take that away.
Like that was
so they couldn't even make the connection later that like, oh, that's like how our world is in this way. They can't even make that connection because it didn't even seem significant in the fucking movie when they were watching it. Because it's just entertainment. It's like, oh, that's a cool story. Next. They're not like you're talking about earlier in terms of how you read, because reading isn't only physical text. It can be watching a movie. It can just be like processing information and you're connecting that to other things. And so like, if you don't have the vocabulary, you can't see the connections in the first place. You just consume it. It entertains you for a bit and then you move on, but you don't realize it actually embeds programs in you, and there's a lot of fucked up programs from in the Matrix that it can embed in you if you're not aware and forgiving yourself when those points come in, right? Same reason we don't let our kids watch like Disney movies and all that shit, because it's like hyper emotional and then programs them with patterns and so forth. So anyways, I guess my point on that was just how that none of what's going on is the elite trying to figure out how to help everybody because it's like, no, they're just finding ways to control everybody more and more and more and more and more and more. And the only way out of that is to first, it's like put your oxygen mask on first, right?
Yeah.
Now everyone's like putting their other mask on, right? What happens when the plane, when the oxygen masks drop down and like people can't take their masks off because they're like, are we allowed to take our mask off? And they're like trying to put the oxygen over it and they all just die. So
they actually
take your mask off first. Put your oxygen mask on is what I'm saying. Meaning start supporting yourself first. Like what happens is a lot of people, especially young people, they go out and they start protesting and they start joining all these causes that are actually controlled opposition. They don't even know that because they don't follow the money trail, but they're collective movements where you lose all individuality and you just get on with the program. And there's nothing within yourself where you're actually becoming an example of that thing. You just become an activist. And so what we're talking about is start with yourself first. Start building yourself. Like if you're not in a relationship, if you're not married, if you don't have kids, if you don't own your own house and property and things like that, you're not even stable in a position where you can support yourself, even just mentally, emotionally, to have the freedom to stand up in this world. Now, it doesn't mean you have to become a billionaire before you can do anything or stand up in any way. But at the end of the day, how much can you really do if you're not a billionaire? You know what I mean? So there is a point where you need to focus on yourself, but it's not like we're saying just get rich. It's do this, do what we're doing. So there is the collective aspect. There's also the individual part. Does that make sense? It's not about you just become a part of our collective group and you just give up your identity. It's like, no, everything we do is to support you to then start getting all the things that actually make life worth living and so forth, right? But then within that, then we have a group that's connected that can then move as a force in this world and make decisions and have influence and so forth. That's how political movements happen. It's just that the individuals get subsumed into that collective movement, and the movement itself never improves the individual. You see what I mean? What we have is a collective movement because we're all working together, but where the individual improves. And for those where they're not improving, I don't consider them a part of what we're doing.
Yeah.
They might wear the shirts and talk about it and join the hangouts, but if they're not fucking moving themselves in their life and getting results in that, they're not really doing it. And it always comes down to one point. I was just talking to someone the other day who was making all kinds of excuses. And I'm like, you're not willing to face a certain point. You know what it was? They didn't want to move out of their fucking parents' house. And it's got to a consequence where their parents were basically kicking them out. And they were like 25 or 27 or something. I don't even know. They were old enough where they should no longer be there. And they've been in the group long enough where they should be able to stand up, but they're still accepting and allowing a fear. It's that point of like, okay, I have to now move myself out of what I'm doing currently into something new, and a lot of physical resistance. Both of you know exactly what I'm talking about because you've been doing this. So when we talk about doing this process and being a part of the group, we don't just mean time spent being in the group. We mean like just because you're in a group doesn't fucking mean anything. It's how much time have you spent actively pushing yourself through resistances into new levels of responsibility. And with that comes new rewards. Problem, solution, reward. What we're seeing in the world with the elite is problem, reaction, solution, where they then they provide the solution that they already had. So this whole point about what we were talking about earlier is a problem occurred where they overhype and amp up the perception of a problem, which is not an actual problem. Everybody reacts because of the impulsing that's done through that hyping of the problem. And then the solution is given, which was already planned 100 fucking years ago. Like they were planning social credit and control of society 100 years ago. They just didn't have the technology yet. So what did they do? They wrote a bunch of books. They implanted shit. Now, the elite didn't write the books. The elite didn't implant the shit. That was done from another level. You're not going to understand that until you study Destiny. But the point is, it's a plan that's been put into place and that we're just seeing it unfold. So that's why when you read the fucking Snow Crash, like, isn't it ironic? You guys, Katie and I told you guys, read Snow Crash. Yeah. Like, what are the books we recommend? We're always like, oh, you got to read Snow Crash. Got to read Snow Crash. There's a couple others, but that's like a major one. And then now suddenly they're like, oh, and here we're launching the metaverse. Yeah. I mean, we must sound like fucking like genius, like clairvoyance or something. Do you know what I mean? Because I'm like, wow, they just happened to choose that word, right? Yeah. But it's like, it's like joking around. Can you imagine if the government was like, hey, there's been a lot of misinformation on the internet and so forth, and we want to make sure that people get access to the truth. So we've decided to launch another department of the government called the Ministry of Truth. And you're like, could you be any more fucking obvious that you're just literally doing it based on 1984? You know what I mean? They're like, it's just like, they're literally just copying it out of the playbooks because that's what they are. But people can't make those connections because they can't process information.
You brought up a really good point that I wanted to hit on. Like, just because you are a part of a group doesn't mean that you're actually doing those things. It doesn't mean that you're actually moving the ball forward for that group. Like, or that you're even going to get the benefits of it either, right? Because I think so many people have that mentality. Like, how many people join Gin just because they think just being a part of the club, then you're automatically, you're in the club, right?
Yeah.
And like, even in your Wishes Your Command, Kevin's like, oh, ain't I in the club? I'm here. Like, no, you have to qualify, meaning you actually have to do these things for yourself and actually change and grow. It all depends on you as the individual. How many people join different political parties because they're like, oh, I want to be a part of, this movement or whatever. But then they go home and they do the same fucking shit. Meaning, like, they're not actually changing or challenging things within themselves or changing their environment, they're still creating the same circumstances that creates the problem in the first place. And so because they don't do that, they don't actually get the reward of having changed and of having made things different. And Mitch, you're a great fucking example of, I mean, we all are, but like you have shown it on social media in a very short period of time of just like actually changing yourself, and then your life changes, and you know, you're actually doing the things that people believe in their mind. Just being part of the group means that, oh, that's what's going to happen to me, you know?
Well, yeah, and they're just like some basics that, I mean, we try to put them on the self-perfected group and it works, right? The basics of like, here's how you can, you know, have a schedule. Here's how you can have a to-do list and shit like that. But just for anyone listening, like, if you don't have a to-do list that you trust and that you actually use it and you trust yourself within it, if you don't have some form of that, you're fucked. Like you've inherently limited yourself. Now, your to-do list might be in a notebook, it might be on your phone, but if you think you can just have it in your head, and if you don't have automated systems making it happen, you're literally like handicapping yourself, because you can only hold so much in your mind, especially if you haven't been using TechnoTutor for a long time.
Yeah.
And so that in itself is so key, right? If you don't have something where every day you check it of like, hey, okay, I got to do these 4 things. Like, if you don't have that, how would you be growing? Like, right? So just look
okay, yeah. To that point. If you think, like, I'm pretty smart, but I fucking know I cannot hold things in my head, in my mind.
Same.
Right? Like, and if you think that you can, you think like, oh no, it's just you guys. Like, I'm different. You're not special like me. Okay, is your life the way that you want it right now? Because if it's not, guess what?
Be honest about that shit too. Come on, it's so easy to be like, oh yeah, that's pretty good. So,
oh, dude, it's so funny. It's so funny. I was talking to another distributor, and he was telling me he talked to someone and said, you know, I just want you to have the life that you actually want. And they replied to him, I do have the life that I want. My life is great. It's perfect. I love my life. And he's like, yeah, that's why you got kids by 3 different people. And like, your one kid has anger management issues. You're at work all day. You never get to spend time with your kids. That's the life you really want. Sure. Okay. Like, people.
It's just that point when it's like, oh, you're going to make me do something that I'm not feeling confident, or I don't want to take that responsibility. It's like, oh no, everything's fine.
Right.
It's like,
right.
Then why the fuck
so
are
funny.
you here?
I was chatting with Seth. He's also a distributor, and he had a guy he met at the Gin event, and it was just very interesting. Seth was explaining the conversation to just because he wanted to reconnect with him. Because the guy's busy. I think the guy just became a father, but it's like you could just tell in the way the guy was responding. He was like trying to flex. The guy like drives a truck, right? He's like has a newborn kid, but he can't spend time with the newborn kid because he drives a truck. But the way he phrased it, he's like, no, man, things are going great. Learning so much about myself. Yeah, I'm trucking, but I'm also doing Forex. I'm like, oh, so Forex must be going really well then, right? It's like, come on. You know, but
it's like they didn't read Robert Kiyosaki.
Right.
Actually, that person I was mentioning earlier who was not fucking pushing themselves properly. And I was like, they were saying, you know, because we were talking earlier, right, Jake, about this other guy you were talking to about his money, and you were like, where's your fucking money going to? And I was asking the same thing to this person, because he was like, well, I don't have enough money for whatever. And I was like, how much are you making right now with your just job that you're doing? And he told me, and I'm like, so you have plenty, you know, for what you need and to do everything else you're trying to do. But I was like, where's your money going to? He's like, well, it's going into investments. And I'm like, what investments? He was like, cryptocurrency. And I'm like, so you have a job, you're not building your actual business that you have access to, and then you're investing all your money into cryptocurrency, and then you're not able to go and invest in yourself to go to the events and stuff you need to do to support yourself to build your business. And I was like, have you even, I mean, I was like, you've read Robert Kiyosaki, like Rich Dad, Poor Dad, you know about, you know, he's like, well, like half of it. I'm like, you've known about this he's been in gin for like years and years and years. I'm like, why are you not fucking actually studying?
Yeah.
And it just comes down to the person's, I can always tell when someone's not really using their TechnoTutor because you just see it, like they're not fucking actually growing. And then you find out, they're like, I'll talk to people and they're like, I'm just doing this one same list like every day. And I'm like, that doesn't make any fucking sense.
Yeah.
Like actually rebuild your vocabulary, do DIP, take it seriously.
Yeah.
But it was interesting because I was explaining to him, like, you don't have money to invest. You're taking all your money from your job and trying to get rich off of I'm like, how much money do you have in these investments? And he said, $5,000. I'm like, what's the best case scenario that 10 years from now that money's going to be? And he was like, I don't know, like a couple $100,000. I'm like, first of all, that's never going to happen. Second of all, even if that's the case, which I would agree, that's the best case scenario, that's nothing.
Yeah.
Like 10 years from now, you're going to have a couple $100,000, like you're 10 years fucking older and you still don't have a relationship and you still like, and I said, what's the reason why it'll never work, these investments? And I'm not saying some of them, you can't make some money, like, well, look at Bitcoin went up from this to that. I get all that. I understand. But even if you wanted to be a billionaire in Bitcoin, you still have to have $1 million in the fucking beginning anyways. It's not like you can put $100 in and suddenly you're not going to be fucking really actually wealthy. And I was like, but that's not even the problem. The real problem why that stuff, investments, if you're in a job, okay, this is the key point. If you're working a job, like meaning you're not an entrepreneur who's actually building a business, it's okay to be an entrepreneur and be in the beginning of building it and not have evidence of it yet. It takes time. That's fine. But if you're not actually doing the actions, I would look at that. Like, I'm not going to say, if someone says I'm an entrepreneur and they're not rich, I wouldn't be like, oh, you're not an entrepreneur. I would be like, okay, but what are you doing on a daily basis? Like, what are the actual actions you're taking? I will look at that rather than whether you have the money yet, because if you do this part, that'll come later. But you'll see they aren't even doing that a lot in most cases. You talk to these young guys, they're saying they're an entrepreneur or something, and they're just putting money into cryptocurrency. That's all they're doing, basically, right? Or the stock market, which is a scam. But let me finish this point. But here's the key point. Why is it that if you're in a job and you've never built a business and you're just trying to get rich on the stock market, cryptocurrencies, Forex, whatever the fuck it is, why is that never going to work?
You didn't fucking change. You're still a slave.
Exactly. You don't have to change. The problem is not you don't have money. And now there are going to be so many people in this world that they're never going to do any of the process we're talking about just because they're in such a low fucking position. They're like slaves in fucking Cambodia or something. You know what I mean? The system will have to change to support that. We know that. That's why we're talking about creating the new 1%, not right now getting the poor people to do everything. They're not going to have the time. They're not even going to be able to sit on a fucking listen to a podcast for an hour and a half because they got to be out their third fucking job or something. Okay. Some of those people in those situations are going to somehow find the resolve and they're going to have some kind of programming where they're going to be able to break through and that's fine too. So we're not excluding anybody, but we're just realistic. We understand it's about the new 1% with principles to create the 100%. But the key point is if you're working a job, that means you're a slave. You wouldn't be in that situation if you weren't. Okay, be self-honest about it. Now you have to change that programming. So just siphoning off a little bit of your money from your job into cryptocurrencies, you think you're going to get money. I told this guy, I was like, you should be glad you never made $1 million because you would have fucked your life up completely and you still wouldn't have any money. You'd be fucked. I mean, look at what you're doing with what you have now, like nothing. So you can't just suddenly get money and then you just know what to do with it. The number one thing you find when you start to make money is like, you're like, what the fuck do I do now? Like, what do I do with it? And then you have to start studying like, okay, maybe I should buy land or maybe I should invest in something else or this or that. So my point is to explain to these guys, like, you have to go through the small business part, the entrepreneur part before you get to the investing part. And so there's so many people who have been sold by videos and other people. And you see videos of people where they seem like they're investing money and they're making money, but they're not really telling you the truth. Because if they were, they wouldn't be doing ads on their videos and fucking like sponsored shit and all that stuff. Like you wouldn't be doing all that. It reminds me of this. Did y'all see that video I posted with, it was like Abba and Preach, where they were talking about the Instagram influencers?
No.
And they were just like, like they would do like reaction videos and stuff. And they were talking about these Instagram models and influencers, mostly the women who are like really attractive, and how they're like, on their Instagram and they're in private jets and they're in, Dubai and like all the fancy shit. And it's like, they're using all that to gain their influence and following, right? And grow that and make money off of whatever. I don't know what the business model is, but they make money somehow off of that influence. But what they were, well, that's what they were talking about. How do they actually, like, how are they in a fucking different private jet every week? How are they in Dubai partying like that? And he was explaining, there was this one woman, she was probably like 22 or something from, like Colombia or somewhere. And she was like, thank you, Prince Ali Tawalid or whatever the fuck his name was, from Saudi Arabia or Dubai or wherever the fuck. And she was like, I would gladly accept your offer. You are paying me $50,000 to fly to Dubai, and you will be able to lick hummus off of my feet. And then I will be giving you massage. And she started listing off all the shit she was going to do. Right. And then she's like, and then I will have sex with your 14-year-old virgin brother. And like, I'm like, what? Can you imagine? And that's like the mild stuff. And then they start talking about how a lot of like some of these women, these beautiful women, they're like, they call them 10 out of 10s. They go there and they're putting all the pictures of them partying, all this stuff. Meanwhile, they're getting paid $150,000 to have a train of Saudi Arabian dudes like take shits on them. Straight up. That's what they're doing.
Yeah.
I mean, it gets crazy and some it's mild or whatever, depending on what they're paying you. And they told this one story about this woman who went over there and got paid $150,000 for guys to shit on her or whatever. And then, which I don't understand the appeal of it, but okay, even for the person doing it. But maybe it's just like a power thing. Like,
it's
I don't know.
Power thing.
It's
like you have this beautiful vase and you're just like, what if I just smash this? I don't know. It's like you just like defiling it. I don't know. But anyway, so she goes over there. They give her $150,000 cash, does all this crazy shit for it. And then she goes back and tries to fly out of the country. And then she doesn't realize you can't really go like fly with more than 10,000 cash, and they confiscate all of it.
Oh,
so that's the funny part of the story. But the reason they were talking about it was they were just exposing the point of all these people on Instagram. And then you have like these average people who are looking at that and they're envious and they want all that. And they're like, oh, if I was just like that person, or if I just did something they're suggesting or whatever, but they're not telling you the reality of how they're getting access to that lifestyle, if that makes sense. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like you see the guy on the private, it's just like if you see the rapper with the flying on the private jet or whatever, right? Like, wasn't it like Drake or somebody, not you, sorry, Drake, the other Drake, the fake Drake, as we call him, the fake Drake.
Aubrey, his name is Aubrey.
Yeah, Aubrey, as we call him. You know how he had that like jumbo jet, or it was like a private jet, but it was like, that was all decked out and everything. I'm like, what do these guys have to do for that, really? And then when you see someone like, remember recently Nicki Minaj was like talking about the vaccines and stuff, and then everyone started shitting on her.
Yeah.
Right. So it's like you become a literal slave, because it's not like he's actually making enough money to get all that. Right. I mean, that plane alone is probably his fucking net worth. I don't even know. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, why did we get on that topic?
Well, two points here. One, I saw this hilarious meme, and it was like, you know how Facebook's always like lift Black voices, and that's like this trend, right? You heard that, lift Black voices. So the beginning's like lift Black voices, and then Nicki Minaj is like, I don't trust the vaccine, and then they're like, I'll attack her.
Oh yeah.
It's like not that Black voice. That's hilarious. But then the other point is, for all these people doing the crypto, right, and they never actually had to change themselves and go through that process, right, of employed to self-employed to business owner to investor.
And all the things that go along to do that, like getting a partner, family, all that stuff. That's a part of all of that, by the way. It's not just about it's about business.
Exactly. So to this point of this slight edge and like the consistent improvement, or use the slight edge to fucking, sabotage yourself and stay stuck, is like, that mentality is, okay, there's this phrase, right? We hear, I remember hearing it's like quantum leap, right? It's like popular in that like Bob Proctor, Abraham Hicks thing. And people are going, yeah, I'm gonna quantum leap. I'm gonna like, somehow something, and it's gonna like, I'm just looking for that little push over the edge. And it's like that's like trying to buy fucking lottery tickets thinking you're going to become a fucking banker. Like, it's not how it works. Now, if you want to say there's a quantum leap, what that would be is in every breath and in every moment you can make decisions, but that's not what these people are trying to say. They're trying to be like, oh, if I just vibrate right, one day on the fucking subway I'm going to meet somebody who's going to give me a check for no fucking reason, or something like that, or they're going to buy Dogecoin at the right time.
There's a degree to which it's a quantum point where, like you're saying, in each breath, you're doing the right things, you're accumulating a result. And then what happens is the result appears, and that seems like the quantum leap. Or the result could just be within yourself. You're able to do something you weren't able to do before because you were able to accumulate enough, letting go of programming, reactions, whatever, getting it to a point of clarity where you can then take that action that you were afraid to take, whatever, which is like, maybe it's get into that relationship, or, start actually building your business, whatever the particular thing is. So there is a quantum point, but it's mundane. It's like, it's not sexy. Like people say, it's not like that. It's like, it's no different than, like somebody said one time, they were like, well, because they were like reading something, people can use anyone to justify fucking anything. And even Bernard, like somebody was like, well, even Bernard said, you could do your process in one moment. Your process could be completed in one moment. And I was like, yeah. But what they're doing is using that as an excuse. Like, I'm not going to fucking do anything. And then one day it's all going to be perfect. Because that's just basically hope and faith and praying and looking for a miracle and wanting something else, the universe, whatever, to change something for you. But look, let's just reinterpret the statement. Your process can be completed in one moment. Okay. Can you fill up a bucket with one drop, like a big ass bucket?
You can.
Well, no, you can't.
A really big drop.
Right? No, but you gotta drop. But if I said, so you already know where I'm going with it, Jake, right? But pretend like
because it's like it's physics. It's physics.
But if you had a big bucket and I said, you could fill that up in one drop, you would see the obviousness that doesn't make sense. Like, so can you, in other words, if you take the way the person is interpreting it as, you can just sit there and then one day put one drop in there and then suddenly it's going to be filled up. Is that how it's going to work? That's not how it's going to work. But if you keep dropping drop after drop after drop after drop, isn't there a certain point where that one final drop hits and then it overflows, and then it's like it's filled up and then everything else is overflowing? So there is that moment where in that one moment it can be done. You don't necessarily know when that's going to happen, because even if you're measuring the bucket and you're watching, it's like, but there's surface tension and you don't know when it's going to break. Like you don't know when that moment's going to happen. But if you stop putting the drops in the bucket, it's never going to fucking happen. It's not like there's one day it's going to get one drop or it's going to suddenly be filled up. It's the same thing with change. It's the same thing with this world. It didn't suddenly one day, oh, the government's trying to control us and all this stuff. It's been since the beginning of time like this. The only difference now is the technology is there and everyone has accepted it and incorporated it into their life so much that it's easy. You see what I mean? Now it's easy. It's easy to fill up a bucket when you're almost at the top. And so people's programming, we've accepted it for so long. We have put our children into systems that have prepared them mentally to accept slavery to the next degree and the next degree and the next degree. So now from the elite's perspective, it's easy for them to just be like, now we're just going to have social credit. And they don't even care about the pushback into protesting and all that stuff. But change in your own process is the same way. Like you can't just sit there and hope. And it's like, if you're not facing resistance on a daily basis, like how many times have both of you ever, like in a daily sense, wanted to give up and been like, fuck this, I don't feel like it. Like it's all the time, constant. That's your ego wanting to hold on. So I was talking to someone, I think it was Valley or Ceylon, because we have people here already. And I was talking to, I think it was Valley yesterday or something. And we were just talking about this point of, because I brought up your video, Mitch, that you did. The one you just did the other day about success and failure. I don't remember what it was titled, but it was really good because you made that point about the mistake that people make, which will keep them enslaved, which is measuring your process and your progress based on how you feel. It's a huge fucking trap because you can be doing the right things and you just don't have that. It's like you're putting the drops in the bucket. But if you're like if you're not even seeing anything yet and you're like, I don't feel like this is working, and then you stop, then it's not going to fucking work. Don't measure it based on how you feel. And a lot of times people, so this is where the positive thinking trap comes in, which you were alluding to as well, in that sense of like, they're just going to vibrate. So what they're thinking is, I don't have to do any of the right things. If I just psych myself out, if I hypnotize myself, if I brainwash myself into feeling good despite the physical circumstances, that in itself is going to magically manifest the circumstances that were going to continue to give me that good feeling. And you know what's so amazing is when you listen to Kevin Trudeau, he's like the master salesperson, right? He says, you want to feel as if you already have it, right? But then here's my question. Then why do you need to have it? If you can get yourself to a point of feeling like you have the feeling you want without having the thing, then why do you need to have it? Maybe the argument would be, exactly, see, you don't need material things.
Yeah.
But think about this. Okay, do a little experiment. Put it to the test. Don't eat for a week. No, 2 weeks. How long can you go without food physically? Do you know?
Probably about 2 weeks.
Let's just say 2 weeks, and maybe it's less. I don't know.
Yeah.
Let's just say it's 2 weeks, right? Probably less. But anyways, go with the maximum amount of time you can. Don't eat anymore. Just stop eating. But then just create the feeling within yourself that you're satiated, you're full, you have all the nutrients that you need and so forth, right? That's never going to work.
Wait, have you not heard of
But that's what people are
breatharians?
saying. What?
Have you not heard of breatharians? Those people.
Yeah.
Oh, breatharian.
Breatharian. Oh, sorry. I was
Even
mispronouncing.
like the fucking guru of breatharianism or whatever, it still eats. They're like, oh, but that's because he chooses to or some shit. And you're like, but my point on that was,
oh my God, it's so
but my
funny.
point was like, you can't get past the physical reality of it. And everyone knows this, like, okay, just don't take a shit anymore. And then just imagine your body being cleansed and free of waste. Like, okay, why would making money work on any different principle than any of that? You know what I'm saying? Like, how is a business? Now, how do you make money? Like, even if you're investing in cryptocurrency, there still has to be computers. Like, if you actually believe this positive thinking bullshit, then just don't even do any investments. Don't use any money. Don't even worry about money. Just sit and just feel good. Is that possible? It's not possible.
Hell no.
But now the problem is when you tell people that, they might think, oh, you're saying I have to feel bad all the time. It's like, you already feel bad all the time. I'm just saying, be honest about it. And now let's do things to make changes in your own life and in the system so that feeling good is just a natural state of being all the time because everyone has what they need. It's so fucking obvious, but it seems like such a big thing. But when you break it down, the big thing is just, well, I don't want to go do that one thing that I feel uncomfortable about. That's the big thing. The big thing is not changing the system. The big thing is that one little thing you don't want to fucking do because you're not using your techno-tutor to support yourself and walking your process and doing all the stuff and putting those little drops in the bucket to where now you're no longer in the same thought process and mindset that you are in right now. I mean, when you do the points, when you walk the process and you accumulate the points, you get to a point where, oh, now I see clearly why I should do that. And then you can do it. You might still feel the resistance, but if you build the point within yourself, actually, Jesper said it really well the other day when I picked him up from the airport. He said, he's got a great story, by the way. I'm not going to tell it on the podcast, but when people talk to him in person, he'll tell it, I'm sure. He's got a great story about how he got into the United States from the Netherlands and so forth for this event we're doing. but he was talking about how he uses TechnoTutor to support himself through all of it. It's an amazing story. And he made this really cool point, which was when you use your TechnoTutor, it helps you develop trust in yourself. And that's the real key.
Bingo.
And that's why people don't want to go do the thing, because even if they're like, well, I can get through the resistance feeling of doing it, they don't trust themselves to be able to actually handle it. And that's the real problem. And so even having a world that's best for all, where everyone gets their basic needs met, people don't trust themselves that we can have that world because they think someone's going to abuse it. It's like, well, okay, but then by not creating it, what do we have? That exact world that they're afraid of trying that would happen.
Yeah.
A world where the elite abuse everybody.
Yeah. But what I've noticed from a lot of people is because they don't trust themselves and because they don't know how to do things, they don't know a lot. They don't have the vocabulary for it. They have a lot of anxiety within them. And that anxiety, they just want it to go away. Like they're so so overwhelmed or just like bombarded with their own anxiety that they just want someone else to take responsibility for it. And that's like,
This is why people believe in God.
yes.
And I meet people all the time that are very effective in this world in terms of the systems, but they don't want to take responsibility for everything.
Yeah.
So ultimately they use the God point as well. That's not my responsibility.
They don't even want to take responsibility for like their kids, like the way that their kids behave or act or their attitude or like the way that their kids think. Where they're just like, oh, well, that's just them.
I got a great story for y'all.
Tell me.
So last night, we picked up a few people from the airport and we went back home and Katie had made all this like chili. By the way, shout out to, yes.
By the way, who are you shouting out first? Go ahead.
The goat farm.
Shout out to the goat farmers.
What are their names again?
Alan
Nikki and
Nikki.
Alan. Yeah, Alan.
Nikki and Alan. Okay, that's right.
What did they give you? Some
Well, we
goats?
bought a whole bunch of meat from them and brought it
Okay.
back and then put it in our freezer when we got home. Why are you jerking off, Drake?
No, that's fucking awesome, bro. Fuck
He's like,
yes.
He's doing like a modified like BLM thing. He's going like that.
This is the
You know, we need to bring back.
shaking the dice.
I don't even know if you guys would know this reference or not, but when I was a kid, there was this show, this guy named Arsenio Hall.
Yeah.
You know who Arsenio Hall is? Drake knows. That's
Of
just because.
I've heard his name. I don't know who he is.
But he's like, he had like kind of a talk
no,
show,
you know
sort of.
who he is. You know who he is. He was in Coming to America, right? He was the
That's
other
true.
main character, the only other main character. He played every other black
Dude,
guy.
Mitch
that-
is from Minnesota. He's like Coming to America.
Dude,
That's
I've never
like-
even seen Come to America.
No.
I knew someone
But
would react.
the
to that.
audience, I don't even remember when they would do this. But I don't know why. But when I was probably like 9 or 10, I would watch that show. I don't know why. Like, why am I on my own as like a young child watching this show? I don't know. Maybe it's because it was on TV. But anyways, he would have guests and he would interview them and stuff. And they would have like a studio audience and everything. But I mean, what is it? It's basically like a black people's late night
Yeah.
talk show.
Like a
Yeah,
David
that's exactly
Letterman
what it
thing?
was.
Like a David Letterman, but for black people. Or for not just black people, but like more like an urban.
Yeah,
sort
an
of-
urban setting where it's just like
Yeah.
it was cooler. It was a lot cooler.
Yeah, it's cooler,
Yeah.
right? It's not just the normal. Anyway, so the audience, though, whenever he would come out, they'd be like Arsenio Hall, and they'd all be like, "Hoo, hoo, 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 hoo," and that was like their thing they would do, and that became like a cultural meme. People would be like, "Hoo, hoo, 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 hoo," this little specific action. Anyways, we should bring that back.
Yeah. Yeah.
Back
That's
to
what
our
Drake was
story.
doing. Okay.
Right,
So
okay.
now, so shout out Nikki and Alan.
Shout out
Yes.
the goat farm because
Yeah.
we put that some of that goat meat with along with some other things in the chili that Katie made.
Mm.
Very good. Very good. We
Nice.
fed like 7 people or so. Avery
Nice.
went back for seconds. I went back for seconds. I ate too much. It was just really good. So we're
I
sitting
saw-
around.
I saw Katie's biscuits. They were
Oh, and biscuits. Yes.
goat cheese biscuits. I was like,
Damn.
fuck.
Goat cheese.
What?
No, that's-
No, it was biscuits and goat cheese. That's it was on Instagram. You weren't there. She tagged
Wow.
me in it. Okay.
I gotta text.
I don't.
See,
I
this
was
is
not
me.
aware of any goat cheese
Rosemary
This is
and
me.
goat cheese, and it was
in the
fucking
biscuit.
sexy.
Made in the biscuit.
I don't know if they were in the
I'm
biscuits.
upset because I didn't know about the goat cheese.
The
This is me,
biscuits look
real time.
amazing.
This is me
Huh?
real time reading this information and applying it. So I'm gonna text Jess that she needs to make that right now.
Oh yeah, dude. when you guys come down, she can show her how to make that recipe. It's like the best. You guys probably have had that chili when you came down before. But anyways, so we're all sitting around supping on our chili. And so Max is talking with Ceylin, and he's just sitting there, and Avery's there. And he starts talking about the solar system, right? And he's like telling about the planets and all the stuff that he's been learning about and everything. And I'm just kind of like asking him questions to like show them like, what he knows and everything. And he's like getting so excited about it. And he's like saying all this stuff. And then something about math came up. I don't remember, but I said, okay, do you want to do some math stuff? And he's like, yeah. He's like so excited. And I go, what's 1 + 1? And he's like 2. And I said, what's 2 + 2? 4. What's 4 + 1? And I kept doubling it until we got to like 128, right? And Avery was just like, I mean, Avery already knows, but seeing it in person, right? And then I started telling him that story about, oh, you guys probably know this story. So the other day we were talking with somebody, Max was there, and we were talking about our property, and we were looking at buying some more land. And I was like, yeah, well, right now we have like 35 acres, and we're looking at buying this other land. It's like about 17 or so. So we're looking at combining that. And Max was listening to us, and he stopped. He goes, Cam, what's 5 + 7? And I was like, well, what is it? And he goes, 12. Okay, so all right, so we'll have 52 acres, right? And I was like, yeah, right. So I was telling him this story, right? And when we were all chatting, and then I said, Max, I was gonna ask. I said, let me ask you another question. And he's like, no, I don't want to answer anymore. I want to talk about math. And he goes, that way Ceylin can see how smart I am, right? It was so funny. And I was like, no, I'm going to ask you a math question. He's like, okay. And I was like, what's 15 + 16? And he goes, 31, right? Like didn't even do anything here, didn't write anything. It's just, and I was thinking about this earlier when you were talking about like processing and so forth, right? He just turned 5.
Yeah.
He just turned 5. Oh no, that's what it was. I go, Max, when was your birthday? And he goes, I don't want to talk about birthdays. I want to talk about math, right? And I was like, no, I was going to ask you like, how long it was really funny. And
I don't know if you were, because we were on the phone talking last week, right? And then Max came over and he's like, I want to talk to Drake. And then we started talking, and I asked him, I was like, Max, I was just thinking about, how old you'll be in.
Oh yeah.
Do you remember that?
I don't remember the details, but I remember.
I was like, I was just thinking about how old you'll be in like a year from now. And he was like, well, how old will I be? And I was like, well, didn't you just have a birthday? He's like, yeah. I was like, well, how long ago was your birthday? He's like, 9 days. So let's see. What's 365 minus 9?
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, okay. What is it? And he's like, well, Drake, you just subtract 10.
He goes, you just need to know what 365 minus 10 is.
Yeah. And I was like eating this up because he's walking me through it. And I'm like, I didn't know he could do 3-digit numbers, like.
Right. But it's like, he knows how to break it down where it makes it manageable.
Yes.
And it's funny because people say like, again, people can go to like, oh, well, you're really smart and all this stuff. But the thing is, I remember my dad doing that for me when I was even older than Max is, and understanding what he was saying, but not being able to just do it.
Yeah.
Like it wasn't until much later where I was able to do mental math like that myself.
Yeah.
And I had to like sit and focus on it and study it and like practice it. And like Max can just do it. And what I want people to understand is because we integrated those symbols, or as our good friend Terrence Howard would say, the Symbos.
The Symbos.
Right? He integrated those in TechnoTutor many, many years ago. And that's why you see, like, if you go back and watch my videos from when he was little, like 21 months, he was like recognizing all the numbers 1 through 20 and even some of the math symbols and everything. I mean, now you're seeing the result of that.
Yeah. Yeah.
You're not going to be able to take a 12-year-old who didn't get all of that, and they've got all these missing bricks, and they don't know all of everything. It's not physically integrated, which it's like, I feel like we have to give a whole fucking dissertation on how the natural learning ability works every time I try to explain just why Max can fucking add numbers together. You know what I mean? But it's because people just don't have the content. But this is why you know, Valley made this really great point because after I picked her up, we were waiting for Avery to get his bag at the airport. And she was like, you know, I've been thinking about how you guys have built the business, you know, since in the beginning and so forth, and why you started the way you did. And she was like, it makes so much sense because it's not just about one person doing it. It's about all of us being equal.
Yeah.
And it was really cool because she was like realizing that, or just kind of recognizing that point. Right. And the reason why I brought that up is because I can't sit here and explain it in a way that's going to make fucking sense for every single person. Even if I was the best fucking communicator, you know, like Jim Rohn plus Tony Robbins plus Joe Biden, you know, one of the greats in my opinion.
He said, "Come in, Joey baby," and he grabbed my cheek just like that, Joey baby.
I don't even know what impression you're doing right now.
This is Joe Biden says this at virtually every event.
Really?
He tells this story about how he went on Amtrak.
How deep into a Joe Biden event do you get before you turn it off?
The whole thing.
He has to tell this story.
He's like, I watched the pre part. I watched all the speakers in between. I watched Biden. I watched after.
Yes, he comes out.
And then even after
I
the White
watched when
House
they
cut
changed his
him off,
diaper.
right? Even after they like cut him off like mid-sentence, then you wait and you just watch that blank.
And then he
screen.
comes back out and he's like, Joey baby. Yeah. Anyways,
I've never seen
greatest.
Oh, by the
greatest-
way, just real quick, I just wanted to apologize to everybody that I didn't wear a shirt today. I thought I put a shirt on, but now I can't
What
find
is
it.
that, a
I
wetsuit?
don't know where I put
What
it.
are you wearing?
Huh?
Oh,
What are you wearing?
Oh no, I am wearing a shirt. Okay, sometimes I just can't see it because it's camouflage.
Leave
That's
a
where I get
comment
my
if
dad.
you want to see an episode where Cameron is wearing something that's not a shirt.
Or if you just want more dad jokes.
or if you just want Cameron to wear all camo, just 100% camo, so you can't see it.
I am a millennial, but
You're
I'm right,
not a
you know,
millennial.
He is a millennial.
how dare you?
No way.
He's
You're like
on-
the oldest millennial.
He is the oldest millennial. He is the
You're-
oldest millennial.
Okay, hang.
I was born in '84.
What?
I'm not
You're
Gen
born in
X.
1984.
I'm not a Gen Xer. What am I?
You're born in 1984.
What am I, hot shot? You got all the fucking answers.
Hang on. Are you born in 1984?
Yes.
Cameron, that's the only reason you're thinking 1984 is happening. Okay, it's
Right.
just because it was like your birthday. It's important.
Exactly.
At what date did millennials
biased.
start?
While
Definitely
you're
go to
looking,
Google
while
for
you're
it.
fact checking,
Wow. Yeah.
I like to have
1980.
these. I like to do dad jokes ironically, but of course, the person experiencing it doesn't experience it ironically. You know what I mean? Like to them, it's literally just a dad joke. But I'm just saying, I do have the self awareness to know that I'm doing it ironically, even if everyone else doesn't. But I have lots of camo stuff now, as one does. And so I like to get like some camo thing that, you know, like my wallet is camo, right? Got this cool Carhartt wallet. And I'll be like, has anyone seen my wallet? I can't. Oh, here it is. I just couldn't see it because it's camo. So that's my dad jokes.
Man,
Thank you, Cameron, for
that
that.
was good. If
Did you
you
find out?
weren't watching the
Did you find
video,
out?
you may not have got that.
Yeah, he said 1980.
Or I'll be like,
Mhm.
oh, where did my wallet go? What?
Oh, see, now I actually can't see.
Oh, it's still
my
here.
God. So funny.
Or
Cameron.
how do you like my antlers?
Okay, that was too cheesy. Too cheesy.
That was
If you're not watching on video, you don't need to watch on video for that.
not on that part. Where are you, Cameron? Is this like a dining table?
It's my office. That's a conference table.
What?
It's my new
What
office.
happened to your old office?
What?
I just moved. I wanted one with windows, so I just moved it to a bigger office. So the background I normally have is in front of me. I'm sitting behind my desk, like where guests would normally sit if they come into your office, right? I just moved my chair on here, and I did that so I could have this as my background instead of. I don't even have books on my bookshelf yet because I just moved in here a few days ago.
Nice.
Nice.
Dude, that green carpet though. Is it like
Funny.
long carpet or is it short carpet?
It's actually kind of short, low pile, I would say.
My carpet vocab is not high, but nice. That looks good. Hey, we got a new office. Pretty sick. Oh, check out on my YouTube today. Well, if you're watching the podcast, it would have been then yes.
I noticed you just breezed past whether I'm a millennial or not. I noticed you changing the subject. What
No,
what
you're
did you
millennial.
find out?
1980. according
Yeah,
to Time
motherfucker.
Magazine, and Time Magazine has it in the title that they
It's
know.
not like I
about
wanted
time.
to be a millennial. I'm just saying it. It's just a matter of fact.
I thought like
I know I did too. Like because they start using it as if it's like young people.
Yeah.
But then I started finding out they actually classify even. I don't know why. I mean, but it makes sense. I was 16 in 2000, so it makes sense. Like I was still a child at the millennium.
interesting. How old was I in 2000? That's crazy. I was 7. I guess millennials a pretty big range.
Are you a millennial?
Me?
Yeah, you.
Well, what else would he be?
What
What
comes
are you?
after? What comes next? I'm a millennial.
Gen Z, right? Yeah,
Yeah.
Gen Z.
All right. I don't
Gen
know.
Z. I think Jessica is technically Gen Z. When is
That makes a
Gen
lot of sense. She's got that Gen Z energy.
Now I got to know what Pedro is.
I don't think there's
Oh,
anything
okay,
after
still
Gen Z. Yet.
Yeah, Gen
I think-
Z's.
Pedro's a
Yeah,
child.
97 to 2012. Okay. What's
Hold
after
on.
Gen Z?
Well, hold on. If there's anything else to tell you that the whole system is going on lockdown and just controlling everybody, it's the fact that Gen Z,
This is the end of the alphabet.
there's no more letters.
no
No,
more
no. Hang on.
alphabet.
Now it's Generation Alpha. So everyone becomes an alpha.
Oh. Okay. We started over.
So
Nice.
Max
What
is
about
Gen
A, B,
Alpha.
C, D, E? Why did we start at X? Guys, now we're starting at Alpha. As soon as they put all the control systems in place, have you ever read Brave New World?
Hmm.
Oh
They
shit.
create a class system where it's like they genetically engineer babies to be different classes: alpha, beta, gamma, delta. And they even
Wow.
have epsilon.
good thing
You
our
don't
kids
want
are
to be
gonna
an
be alpha.
epsilon. You don't want to be an epsilon.
Just kidding.
Or Sigma.
That's hilarious.
I
No,
think
they don't have
Sigmas
sigmas.
are outside of the system, right?
They have sigmas in the book. I don't remember that.
I don't remember
Maybe I
that.
just don't remember.
I don't remember that. I was just watching a YouTube clip where it was like, this guy is the greatest Sigma ever.
Oh yeah, now they're like, oh, sigma male. That's what you want to be. And I'm
That's
like,
right. Yeah, you've seen that. Okay.
I am an omega male. No, guys,
wait, Omega?
I am-
Omegle?
I listen.
I'm listening.
Everybody on the podcast, I am the alpha and the omega.
You're A and Z?
It's actually
I mean-
O.
And
Zeta.
Is in the middle of the alphabet.
Yeah, it's fucked. That's why Greeks can't get their shit together.
All right.
yeah. So that's Gen Alpha. What was I gonna say? I was gonna say
But is that supposed to be the next one? Is alpha?
it is. Max and Seneca are alphas.
Okay.
Anyone born after 2010.
Makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
2010. Okay.
Mhm.
Wow.
I'm guessing after that is beta, but who knows?
That sucks.
Yeah, I know.
The beta generation. That makes sense.
Oh, what I was gonna say when I was inspired by your office and the green carpet, we got a new office. And the other day, so I made a video of us like transitioning from our old office, the one that you guys saw when you were in town, to our new office. It's pretty fucking good. It's like
The
a
last one
vlog.
was pretty fucking good. How was this
Dude,
one?
I got Jesus is the man. He knows how to do the YouTube thing. He must
Jesus-
be Gen Z. He's like,
Jesus
no,
is
he's
the son
actually
of God. Okay.
I know.
Not
No,
just a
I
man.
am the alpha and the omega.
Oh, okay.
One of you's getting crucified. Okay. So with the
I am the moose god. Can someone snap a picture? Hold on.
I mean, with the headphones, it looks kind of cool too. Okay, I'll get it.
Okay.
Yeah. Now
Hold on,
you're
let
like
me-
a rockin' moose god. No. A little close. Yeah. Dude,
Nice.
okay. I got it. You look like a moose god for sure. So we got this new space, right? And we can now fit 200 people in a meetup. Because beforehand, we were capping out. It was a room for like 10, and we were getting like 15 people in there. It was getting way too warm. No one could see each other. It
It's
was
hot
just
with all those bodies.
it was like a mosh pit. And then now, next level. So apparently Prince used to own the building. The
Prince Charles.
musician.
Prince William.
No. Prince.
Prince.
You know Prince?
He's
I never actually really listened to Prince.
What?
He's from
Was his,
Minneapolis.
was his dad king?
Or his
King of
mom
Kings.
queen?
Was his dad Martin Luther King?
I know who you're talking about now. The black guy.
The one where Dave Chappelle has that clip and Dave is like, he's like, purify yourself in the waters of Lake Minnetonka. You remember that one, Drake?
I don't remember that one.
Yeah, I do remember.
I thought it was funny because like I lived by Lake Minnetonka, so I was like, oh, Dave Chappelle knows.
He knows about geography.
Yeah, well, hey, if social credit were a thing, just by mentioning Dave Chappelle, I might have got docked some points. If social credit becomes a thing, we're all fucking negative.
Yeah, that point you just made is interesting. Like literally, you say certain words, and then it like actually starts, and you don't even know. It's like one time I looked at my Uber rating as a passenger, and it was like not perfect. I'm like, wait, somebody rated me really bad. I'm like, what the fuck?
They're like his dad.
I
jokes
rarely
fucking
ever use
suck.
Uber. I'm like, and it was something about. Actually, I don't remember what it was, but it was. The thing is, I had rarely used it, and I always do like the nice Uber. You know, like the what is it called?
XL or
guess.
the black
Black
Uber
one or whatever. So
Lux.
I'm like, if they're upset that I'm not fucking chit chatting with them, like, why do you think I fucking got Uber Black?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, I'm a fucking boss. Like, I don't talk to you. You're just my slave.
Bro, oh, did you see that video that I posted yesterday of you saw it. You definitely saw it. Yuri, I forgot his name. It's something like, it sounds very
Who?
Eastern European.
Who is this?
Is that the Greek guy though?
Former KGB guy?
No, not the former KGB guy. The Greek guy who's like the
He was the
philosopher,
finance
the
guy.
professor. Yes.
Yeah. Okay. I thought I recognized him, and he was talking to somebody else.
Right.
Yannick?
Yannick.
And then
Slavoj
Yarek.
Zizek. Slavoj Zizek.
Yes.
yeah, I saw you posted that. I didn't watch it yet. Was it good?
Okay. It is really good, but you got to have a high vocabulary to keep up with it, because otherwise it's just like, what? Check. But he was talking about techno-feudalism, right? And he was talking about like, okay, where we're going, this is no longer capitalism. Capitalism has, it's funny because, okay, same thing Bernard had said long ago, that the system is busy crumbling, crashing down, right? Destroying itself. He said, this has been going on. Like the system has been, capitalism has been dead at least since 2008. And it's been on a slow IV drip, right?
Hey,
Yeah.
check this out. The whole idea of communism, remember, like Marx like said, oh, you got capitalism and then socialism. It was all a, what do you call it? I'm trying to look for the word. It was a way of getting people to not really ever change the system. Because it's making you think that it's inevitable, everything's going to become communist, and everything will suddenly, eventually, it'll just naturally become everybody's in harmony.
Well, here's the point he was making.
That's why I brought it up, though, because what you're saying.
That's great. Here's the point.
Because it's never going to go that way on its own.
Yes.
It's not going to happen.
What he said was, capitalism is dead, and it has not been replaced with socialism. It's been replaced with feudalism.
It was never going to be replaced by socialism.
Right.
It's a lie.
Right. He's like, we're now in a feudal system where all of the marketplace, like there is no more marketplace. What you thought was a marketplace, like what happened when, what was it that crashed recently or something went down? Oh, GDP went down. Like it was like the worst that it's been, dropped 20 points, whatever. And then the stock market went up like tremendously. Thank you, Biden. Thank you. Let's go Biden. Yay. Anyway.
No, it's let's go Brandon.
Oh, that's what they've been saying. Who's Brandon?
That is the most derogatory thing I've ever heard someone say.
But
I heard like Glenn Beck and them, they're like, oh, it's so funny, like with the Let's Go Brandon, because what they were actually saying, as a Christian, like, I'm not really on board with that kind of language. I'm like, shut the fuck up. Like, God damn it. When people act like, well, I don't want to use those language, but they're like, but Let's Go Brandon, that's perfect. I'm like, you know what it means.
Right. It
that's
means
okay,
the same thing. It means
but you
the
can't
same
say
thing.
this word because you're a Christian, but you can say that because it means that. I'm like, do you understand what a word is and what a referent is? And the fact that they're both referring to the same thing. But if you don't say that word, okay, you're good. I'm like, holy fuck, you're retarded. Anyways.
Yeah. That's
although I do like Glenn Beck.
That's the problem with our culture. But okay, so
that's the problem. Yes. That itself.
That is it. That is it.
That is that one problem. That's that one drop.
That's it.
That put it over.
That's
The
it.
only problem.
There's only one. That's it. I don't want to hear any other problems. That's your only problem. Okay.
No, hang on. I do want to hear about how this feudalism thing.
Yes,
is-
tell me
how's
about
the
it.
marketplace
Okay.
not a thing anymore.
Also, I'm just real quick. I just want to know, like, is there going to be a point where we can wear like armor and shit?
Yes.
Because now I have like land. I'm like, so I'm kind of like a fucking like
You're like a feudal
a
lord.
lord. I'm like,
So to
fuck
speak.
yeah. That's what we need to be like. That
Dude.
should be our like our
Yeah.
self-perfected
I'm gonna get a fucking
lords,
Okay.
Lord.
lords and
Yeah.
ladies,
Yeah.
lords and ladies.
But what he was saying was the system is it's not on like normal ground how
Real
it
quick.
used to be. Yes.
I just want to interrupt you again. You know how like there's like boss and all that kind of gay shit, right?
A boss.
Let's make I want to be like a boss hustler, like all this
Oh, yeah,
kind of
yeah.
like shit, right?
Yeah.
We should make it lords and ladies.
Ooh.
Lords and
You
ladies.
know, like they're like that person was like
Yeah.
self-perfected boss babes and all that, trying to make fun of her. Like,
Self-perfected
let's just
lord.
bring like I'm not a fucking boss. I'm not a fucking. I'm a lord. I'm the
Yeah,
There's
I'm-
only one true Lord.
Gang
You know, but
signs.
it's like
I am a servant. too.
personal sovereignty, right? Absolute individuality. We're all lords and ladies. Fuck yeah. All right, sorry,
Ooh.
Jake. I want to hear, but I just want to get these little shots.
I am your lord, not your savior.
I
Not your savior. Just your lord.
Dude, that would be next level. if we start calling ourselves savior.
No, we're not saviors.
we can create levels of self-perfected where it's
But
like,
you can't be a savior. That's the point.
yeah, when you get to a certain point of self-responsibility, it's like you're a savior. You know, you're like a tier, right? You're like a lord. Okay, that means you have land. But when you're like in politics and you're actually like in a certain position, then you're like savior status.
Oh.
Hey, didn't
oh.
we have that? Remember in our game? Remember the tissue game?
Oh yeah, there's something like that. Yeah, that
Remember
was
like the
savior.
person who
Those
lays on
ones
the ground to save it was called the savior. That was
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, yeah.
That's awesome. I didn't realize that. I was talking with Justin Briggs.
You know how Amazon has that game where you do like the stick ball? You ever read that story?
Oh yeah, they play the broom ball.
It was like a hockey game with brooms and stuff. So like our like
Broom ball,
Techno Tutor
not stick ball.
self-perfected game is you blow these tissues in the air with straws, and then there's a person on the ground who tries to blow it, and you have teams and you try to like, so you start, you drop the tissue, and then you try to keep it in the air. I'm just giving everyone context, right?
Yeah.
But it's actually, if you think about it, the perfect what's the word, like official game for us, because we live in the pandemic era now. So it's like we're blowing tissues around, like and blowing on each other and stuff like that. You know, what I mean? It's like the
No, it's like
perfect
that's-
embodiment of like we don't
If
give
you're
a
afraid
fuck
of
what you-
COVID, that's
Right.
not the.
It's
game.
like perfect, right? So
Yeah.
anyways. All
I
right.
was
Back to
talking with,
Drake.
I was talking with Justin Briggs, side note, and he was saying how he talked to someone over the weekend and he was telling them, what do you want to do? And they were just telling them that they just want to be happy. And he's like, well, why wouldn't you do what's best? Like, why wouldn't you actually want to get back to just in any way? And they were like, no, you're going to do that. He's like, what the fuck? You think I'm the fucking savior of the world? Like I could just do it by
Yeah.
myself.
The problem is I just want to be happy. That's the
Yeah.
problem. It's nothing wrong with being happy. It's just
That's the problem. That's
now
it.
that's
That's
the
it.
problem.
That's it, guys. Okay, we figured it out. No more problems. No more problems. That's it. But okay, feudalism. It's coming for you. Where is it coming? Not in your house, right? Necessarily, but in the
Well, unless you live in
towns.
my house,
Unless you live in Cam's house, in which case,
then if you parlay into my fucking acreage,
uh-huh.
you better come with a fucking lance. Because I will
Horse?
joust your
That's a
fucking
lance.
ass.
Do we have to bring our own horse?
Bring your own horse.
Yes. If you don't bring a horse, you're fucked. I'm
BYOH.
I'm just
gonna
gonna
be
joust
I'm
out
gonna
of
be
my
riding
truck.
on PJ, that little pig. I'm like, no, dude. No. Fuck that. Fuck horses, no. ATVs.
Oh,
That's
shit.
like the
Wait,
horse
what
of the
is joust-
future.
What is
Oh,
a joust?
shit.
Here's the dystopia, right? It's like everybody riding around on fucking ATVs.
Yeah.
That's like, I didn't really flesh out that idea.
Wait. Can you go back?
It's
Oh, no,
like
Mad
feudal,
Max.
it's like
Mad Max.
feudal knights. No, it's not Mad Max. It's more like I like the medieval thing.
But Mad
We're not
Max.
going- we're not going with, like-
fucking ATVs.
Yeah,
and
but that's like deserts, like everything's wasteland. This is more like
okay.
you have
sorry.
land,
Yeah.
but you don't have servants. You don't have like what do you call it? What do you call those things?
Serfs.
The peasants. the peasants are just in the metaverse. Like they're not like, it's not like we have peasants and shit. Like we're lords, but we're not like, we don't have like slaves. We do everything ourselves. We have machines, automation, and so forth, right? But all the slaves are in the fucking metaverse, techno feudal fucking like you don't own anything.
Yeah.
So then you have two types. You have the tech oligarchs, and then you have we're in tech, so and we're in
oligarchs.
Texas.
But hang on. Interesting, right? We're in tech in terms of in the industry, but
Sis.
we go into the tech, like the tech.
Sis.
We use the tech to build us here in reality. Isn't that?
Yeah, I get it. Like they're like, what do you do? Like, oh, I'm in tech. You're like, oh, wow, that must be no. I mean, I'm just addicted to the metaverse. I'm just in tech.
Yeah, I just
like 120%. I just like
where I
fucking,
am.
I'm not even talking to you right now. I'm looking at Mark Zuckerberg.
They're like
dude.
contacts.
Wait, Mitch. You haven't seen Black Mirror.
I fuck Black Mirror.
Holy fuck, dude. You gotta like, there's a whole, like, there's so many episodes where you're like, oh, that's definitely happening. That's definitely happening.
Yeah, I know. Like, I'm like, I think
No, you gotta watch it.
Black Mirror right
There's
now.
another one, because we talked about the social media one before with like the social score and all that. There's another one where it's like these people, do you remember this one, Drake, where they're like on the they're like on the bikes or something?
Yeah.
They have
And
to like bike to like earn some, and I guess maybe
some
they're like
points.
powering an energy grid, maybe. I don't know
Yeah.
why they're doing it,
yeah.
but they get like points, and it's like they're just like on an app on a screen.
See, that's what Peloton is in this giant craze
It's
about
like
doing
that.
cycle classes.
And it's like you have to
literally
watch
for-
advertisements, and like you're trying to beat these scores, and then you get points.
Yeah.
And I'm sure, I don't think I'm mixing it up.
No,
And then you get enough points.
You get enough
And
points.
then you get to
can
go
on
and you get to
stage.
be on a reality show.
Yes.
That's like an American Idol thing.
Yeah.
Like you get your shot to like be, and they totally shit on you. It's so fucking weird, but I'm like, dude, like
Yeah.
that's a really good episode because it's weird, but so it doesn't, it's not completely realistic where you can relate to it, but it gets the point across.
But it's really good because like the guy goes on stage and like even when he's on stage, the crowd that he sees is all virtual. It's all a virtual crowd, right? And then they shit on him and then he becomes popular or whatever. And then once he becomes popular, then he basically is living the same life, but like with a few more amenities, but he's still a slave. Like they did.
Oh,
they
and after you get off your bike and you're like where you live, it's like in a cubicle. Like just imagine a very small room, like 8 feet by 8 feet. I don't even know, like not even.
Yeah.
And
Like
you have
a
like a
prison cell.
match or they have like a bed on it basically, but it's like all digital screens, all the walls, everything. And it's like 24/7, like advertising to you. And if you close your eyes when there's an advertisement, it like blares like sirens and shit. And like you have to like watch the fucking ad. And like it's like they just sit there and like jerk off the porn, and you can have like any porn you want. And then
That's
it's just
right.
like, and it's like making the guy watch it.
Yeah.
Right? Remember that? It's like making him watch it.
Yeah.
Sorry, I was just talking
Whoa.
to Secret Service. I was just talking to Secret Service. That's
Oh,
my
okay.
code word.
Nice.
But yeah, I remember that one part where he's like, he's like done with it. Oh no, it was like he had a friend. He has a friend in there and he likes her, but then she becomes a celebrity. And now it's like, he's having to jerk off to her and they're like making him watch. And he like, doesn't want to, cause it's like, he's like that, I don't want to defile her or whatever, but like making him like watch it. Yeah. He's like, I don't know.
That's where we're at now. There's also
Another time I
another.
should watch the show.
Dude, I love that meme you shared where the metaverse, where it's like what you think it is and then what it really is. And it's just like a person on a mattress and like a bare walls and stuff on a fucking headset, like
Yeah.
almost like they're in a mental hospital.
You know what?
Hey, did you start reading Otherland yet, Mitch?
No, not yet.
Dude, fuck all those other books.
You know what I'm
Wait,
reading right now?
okay, I'm still working through Snow Crash. Should I finish Snow Crash? And
Definitely
1984?
finish Snow Crash.
How long does it take you? You
Definitely finish those
Dude,
books.
I'm reading other practical
You're like
books.
5
okay?
minutes at a time.
You know what,
No.
what book I'm reading right now that I can't put down? Three Body Problem.
Show me your hands.
The-
Show me your fucking left hand. Let me see it. You missed it. He had like techno tutor binder.
but
Actually,
no,
maybe you did see it. You covered your camera. I thought maybe, I don't know if you can see it.
three body problem, right?
Are you reading that?
I'm reading it right now. It's so
Where
good.
are you on the first one?
I'm on the first one.
Dude,
And
I know. It's like really good.
like, okay, so they've just gone through like
Dude, that's like
Basically,
going back
but-
to like the first episode. I was reading that book.
Yeah, the
I don't even
Cultural
remember.
Revolution happens and all this stuff, and like now they're talking about Red Coast base, and a bunch of people are dying, all that
You
shit.
haven't even really got into it.
No,
yet,
no,
actually.
no.
But it's
Yeah,
it's a
yeah.
good book from the beginning. But
It's
I'm just telling
super
you,
good.
and the
It's
whole
super good
series,
so far.
the whole
Yeah.
series is good.
Yeah. So I don't know why I brought that up because you were talking about books. But
Let's just talk about books for a bit, guys. Maybe we'll end it shortly, but let's just do some books real quick.
Here, hang on.
books you
I
should
gotta
read.
show you this. I gotta show you this.
Tell me.
I found a bookstore this weekend. I spent like an hour in there. Check it out. Check out this combo. 1, how to survive the end of the world as we know it. Right. So I can get like practical skills.
Got it.
1,000 ways to make $1,000. Didn't Warren Buffett read this when he was a kid? So I'm like, perfect. When I have our son, I'm going to give him this, right? That'll give him some good ideas.
It's gonna be like, Dad, what's a penny?
Merchant bankers, right? Learn about merchant bankers. Again, understand that. Winning through intimidation. I've seen this book, but I've never read
It's
it.
kind of my style.
Great presidential decisions. So it literally highlights every time the decision came down to the president and what they did. I'm like, damn.
Can you
Valuable.
imagine the 2021 version?
It's just blank. It's just
Great punt, Morgan. Right?
Oh,
So
Pierce
learn about
Morgan.
Yeah, he changed what he looks like. He got older.
It's the
He,
mustache.
he-
Yeah.
he looks a bit more scary. And then basic history of American business. So I don't know.
Oh, that looks like a good one.
Yeah,
So
business.
you showed
It's
me
like
that one?
it explains way back to, colonize like colony times.
Oh, I want to borrow that one. That looks good.
Looked like, and then how it evolved over time. So, and I got a bunch of other ones, but they're in the other room.
Some of my
There
favorite
was-
books are those weird or like history books like that. Like I have one on the John Deere company. That was really interesting.
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah. I found a couple other ones. This guy, I was just talking to the guy who ran the bookstore, and he was just this like really well read, like really weird guy, but he was, cool
Yeah,
to
so
talk
you got
to.
one of those. We had one of those in Houston where the guy was real fucking. And it's like I almost like didn't want to talk to him, but he like actually
Yeah.
knows a lot about books.
Yeah. And so I was asking him, I was like, oh, there's this one book on LBJ that like they were ranting about it on some podcast. And I was like, huh. So I asked him if he had that. He's like, no, I don't. But he goes, oh, this one, Lincoln and his admirals or something. Or I forgot, Lincoln and his team or something. And he's like, this book. He explains, he says, Abraham Lincoln created his whole presidential cabinet intentionally with people he disagreed with, and they still got shit done. And he's like, it's so well written.
Hold
the
on.
whole thing.
And then immediately there was a civil war.
Yeah, I'll have to read it.
How'd that work out, guys? It's like day one, like next day. We're declaring civil war. Fuck you.
It's great.
There's one other one. There's one other one called The Rise and Fall of the Roman Empire by, it's some other like really main, apparently famous one. And it's like a beast. So I was like, okay, let me finish Snow Crash. And
Fuck all that other stuff. Just read Otherland next.
Otherland.
Yeah.
What about Diamond Age? That's a really good
No,
one.
no, I'm telling you, Otherland is it's all in there.
Okay. Okay.
It's like 1,000 pages.
Jesus.
So it should have all of it in there. Nice.
Yeah.
Actually, no, it's not 1,000 pages because each book is like 800. And there's
Oh,
4
so
of them.
24.
Actually,
So it's like over 3
fuck
books.
all that. You know what I'm going to read? You know what I feel like I need to read?
The blogs.
Asking It Given.
Oh yeah, that's like 99% accurate.
Dude, if not 100.
If not, look, I'm so certain it's 99% or it's 100. If it's not 99%, it's 100. Which is it? You decide. Use
We
your
need it.
discernment.
We
Always use your discernment, no matter
Always
what you
use your
read.
Feelings.
Discernment equals feelings.
You're discerning feelings.
Discern your feelings using law of attraction.
I think we need
Using-
a
We can't
disclaimer.
read.
We need a disclaimer
So-
here.
How am I going to read the book?
Write down every word in the dictionary,
And then memorize it?
memorize it,
With
forget
flashcards.
it, and then forget it. then meditate, and then
In the
experience-
metaverse.
and then experience bliss.
Imagine metaverse meditation, where you don't even have to meditate in the real world. You can go into the metaverse.
And
Meta-
Meta, Meta, Denmark.
Oh,
Imagine Meta. For those of you who don't know, she's
Wrote some
from
verses.
Denmark. She's a self-perfected. Meta. Yes, wrote a verse in the metaverse while meditating.
And she met Meta World Peace while she was there. You guys remember Meta World Peace?
of course. How
Is that like World Star Hip Hop?
No, Ron Artest.
No.
He's a basketball
Ron
player.
Artest changed his name to Meta World Peace. He's an NBA player.
And then it was hilarious because in his Meta World Peace shirt jersey, he was in the crowd beating somebody up, giving him that world peace. Yeah.
So that
Yeah,
went
was
on
he-
World Star Hip Hop.
Yes.
Yeah, he was the dude who punched the guy, right?
Yeah.
Some guy came to our door, so I didn't hear it.
Oh, okay. Okay. Nice.
Was he coming to masturbate on your kitchen floor again? Whatever that guy was doing last time.
No, I think he's masturbating on the outside of our house.
Okay, cool.
That's
normal.
good. That's okay.
That's just
That's fine.
we you know what you call that, guys? Hashtag country living.
Hashtag feudal living.
Hashtag metaverse.
All
No,
right.
dude, like metaverse, Snow Crash, read that. Otherland, it's a whole nother level of taking the online thing and combining that with the elite trying to fucking enslave people. Brilliant. And it's really good. You won't be able to put it down. And then I'm also reading another book by Ted Williams.
I just stopped showing up on the podcast and stopped building the business. I just totally.
That's what I'm suggesting. So I'm reading the last book of Otherland. We had to buy 2 copies of the 3rd book because Katie's caught up to me. And then we were like both reading the same book. So we had to buy another copy. And now we didn't buy another copy of the 4th book, which we're both reading. She's like a little bit behind me. But I started reading another Ted Williams book. So every night she reads Otherland while I read this other one. And then as soon as she puts it down, I switch it out and I start reading the Otherland. So
Okay, did your mind
reading 2 of
ever,
them.
like start combining
No.
characters?
no, I can read 4 books at a time and it's not a problem.
All of the fiction type, because I've done that. with
Any
nonfiction.
like I could pick it up and then like a month later pick it back up like I just was reading it.
I mean, that shouldn't be really.
It's just like watching a
surprising.
movie, isn't
Exactly.
it? Like, how's it
or
different?
like watching a TV show. Like you don't get
Yeah.
the TV shows mixed up. You're just like,
and you're like, what? What was going on in here? You're like, oh yeah, I remember. Like you just picked it up.
yeah.
It's the same.
Yeah.
So,
All right. So
okay,
hey,
yeah, I think we're done here.
I think so. I think we talked.
I'm tired of talking to you fucking people.
If you didn't get it so far, you should join us on the Hangout. The Hangouts are awesome, right? The last Hangout that we had was amazing. Mitchell put it down, right? There was like over 60 something people there.
Fire and brimstone.
60 something people.
60 something.
60 calling in, but there was many doubled up. You know, we got all these self-perfected couples now.
Exactly.
You know,
These are counting couples. We're getting an 80 plus.
That's right. That's right.
yeah.
So, but Mitchell gave us some really practical, like, you know, how can we use this in our life? And if you want to interact with us, if you think like this podcast is fun, you enjoy us, well, then you should really be on the Hangout. And if you don't think this podcast is fun, fuck you. I don't care. But you should also be on the Hangout so you can learn some shit. So then you can have some fun with us. But join the Self-Perfected group. There's always a link in the comments to go to selfperfected.com, and it'll show you the link for the group, show you the link for our principles, show you the link for, if you're just joining on this podcast, this is your first one, and you're like, this was fun, I have no idea what the fuck you guys are talking about. You need to go back, listen to episode 2, Principles
No.
versus Feelings.
No. Read Snow Crash and Otherland. And then all 3 books of the 3-body problem, and then get back to us.
Yeah.
You got about 5,000 pages of reading to do.
Hang on, wait. Do they need to read 1984 too? Because I'm also working.
1984, Brave New World. What else we got here? Clockwork Orange. Throw that in the mix.
It's a good one.
Read an entire encyclopedia. read the whole dictionary, write all the words down, illuminate them in
on.
your mind.
And then you can start to consider.
And then once you do all that and you realize how fucking stupid you are, then come talk to us and get TechnoTutor, and then you can actually start learning to read.
You should definitely get.
After you've
TechnoTutor
wasted all
before you
that
read those
time.
books. You should
Huh?
definitely get TT before you try and read those books.
Yeah, for
Yeah.
sure.
Otherwise, you're screwed. So
We have a lot of really cool people coming into the group now.
Oh, you know what happens if you read 1984 Snow Crash and all that shit and you don't have TechnoTutor?
You think
It
it's just
programs
entertainment?
you to actually manifest that shit outwardly.
Hmm.
Isn't that what happened?
Yeah, that's what we got.
Wow. So let's stop manifesting that and let's continue manifesting the right things, such as self-perfected and all the cool shit we're going to do next week, right? With the TT event. So
Hell yeah.
actually this week.
We didn't even talk
we got
about that.
we got like 50 people gonna be here
Fuck.
Yeah.
Okay.
in Texas.
We didn't talk about the event, and we also are we gonna have?
We'll talk about it afterwards.
Are we gonna have a
so we
podcast?
We don't
Yeah.
talk about things
Yeah.
before.
Hey, unless Cam, that podcast studio in town is available, we could do a in-person one with the cool sounds. That might be fucking sweet. And
That
maybe
might
it's not
actually be
like-
cool. Well, I just
Maybe
don't
it's
know
on
if it'll
Monday.
hold all of us, but it might. It might. I'll talk to BW.
I don't know. I want to be 6 feet
No,
apart.
that's smart,
but
dude.
as long as we can do that, I'm good.
You want to be 6 feet apart from me?
No, I'm just kidding.
You know I can't help myself.
I was just messing.
You know
with
what they
guys.
should have? 6 feet apart or 6 feet under. They should pay me to fucking market the pandemic.
They
So,
should.
yeah, that could be cool. And maybe it's not the same time where it's released, but next week we might do that. And then we'll be back. Well, it might even be 2 weeks because I'll be driving back the following Monday. So anyway, stay tuned. And in the meantime, stop fucking around and go do real shit with your life, right? Be real.
Hey.
All right.
All right.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.